Welcome back to the second half of the show. I continue to be Gary Kelly with Lomacchia Realty.
And I'm
joined by
Brad Avergon with Fairway Independent Mortgage.
Brad, as we know from the first half of the show, is having an extended stay at the Extended Stay Motel because he is convinced that there is a countdown once you get the ring. It was not uttered in the first half and with the most adoration that perhaps it could be.
It's like a countdown to New Year's Eve, Gary. You know, when you're with that loved one and you just, you're waiting for that crystal ball to drop, so to speak. It's that type of excitement from the time you get engaged right up to the ceremony.
So, Brad, New Year's Eve, did you stay up till midnight?
I did not, Gary.
and nor did I.
I was in bed, I think, by 10 o'clock. So how about you?
No, it was somewhat similar. We went out, had a nice dinner, had some fun, had some laughs in one of our favorite restaurants. And then, we were tucked in by 10:30, something like that. And so the whole stay up to midnight, I haven't seen midnight in a long time.
I'm with you.
So when it comes to buyers at this point, we were talking about the difference in pre-approval and pre-qualification. I'm seeing buyers that perhaps were on the sidelines in the fall begin to trickle back out and say, let's see what's going on in the marketplace. Let's see what my affordability is because of interest rates. Are you seeing somewhat similar?
I am, Gary. So I think in the in the early fall, we had interest rates on a 30-year fix. They'd really ticked up quite a bit based on the Fed trying to bring inflation down. The market was adjusting, and so we saw rates in the low sevens, which I think when they broke that 7% tier, that was enough for a lot of buyers to step out. Since then, we've seen interest rates come back to anywhere from the mid to the high sixes, and I think buyers that stepped out not only because of interest rates, but also last year when things were so competitive, they were making offers on properties and they just didn't have a shot. I think where the market's adjusted a little bit more to more of a normal market, where you can actually put contingencies in to protect the clients and such. I think they've decided to step back in, that along with the indication from interest rates that they've dropped back a little bit. They've also had time to get used to those interest rates, because that was another thing that I think really shocked a lot of potential buyers, and is not only did rates go up, but they went up so quickly. I mean, the Fed did 4 interest rate hikes at 0.75%, 75 basis points, which is unheard of. I mean, that was crazy. So they were really putting, as I like to put it, putting both feet on the brakes to the economy, and that influenced by pushing those things, that influenced interest rates. When the Fed moves rates, it's not a direct correlation to mortgage rates, but the bond market reacted to what the Fed was doing and went up very, very quickly as well. And I think people need time to adjust to those new norms, and I don't think they had it. So a lot of people just froze and they said, we're out, So now they're starting to come back in.
We saw a lot of people freeze because they're like, it's like playing cards. All of a sudden, the value of a bet is going way up, and people are frightened. So they're frightened off, and they decide, this isn't a game I want to play. But then quickly, after the holidays, after people take a chance to breathe, looking at what's going on in the marketplace, they're like, I'd like to go back and look at some of these properties. We're working with a couple of buyers right now where they're looking at properties that are in their cases for their families. They're not happy with the school situation where they are, and they're motivated to move, I'm going to say, sooner rather than later. And so they're out, we're out on weekends showing properties, which is a good thing. That's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah. I think that people getting used to the interest rate market is part of it. The other part of having properties that don't go on day one and are gone by the end of the day, I think is also helpful, because people want to look at the pictures. They want to think about it, and they want to be able to, because they're working a full-time job in most cases, and they want to be able to say, hey, Gary, can we set up a showing on a Saturday? Can we set up a showing on the Sunday without the expectation the property is going to be gone by then, And so I think that's good. It's not to say that they have all the time in the world to
Right.
think about whether they want to make an offer, but they got enough time to take a breath and to feel and to kind of process, is this a house I want to look at? Is this a house that I want to buy? And can I negotiate a fair price and have some protections like a mortgage contingency in there and like a home inspection? I think that's
One of the things that we did recently, and it really drove it home, was I scheduled a home inspection. And the particular vendor that we were using, you can do it online. And I looked and hadn't had a home inspection with that company in a long time, over a year. Now, it's not that we weren't taking a look at the property. It wasn't that we didn't have people going into the property. And I'm not going to say doing an inspection, because we didn't do a traditional home inspection, but we had learned eyes take a look at the property to make sure that it wasn't, a bad investment. But it had been over a year since we'd actually scheduled a formal home inspection. And that's kind of odd if you think about it.
It sure is. It sure is, Gary. I mean, how many years have we been doing this? And we just had this anomaly set of years there where the market was like a rabid dog. I mean, it was just like, it was
Right.
just craziness. And all of the things that you do to represent your clients as within home inspections and mortgage contingencies, and people were just throwing a lot of that stuff. You would advise them. I know you were advising them, but they were, in order to get the property, they were throwing a lot of those cautions to the wind, which we know is not great. That's not a good thing, right? We want everybody to be happy, in a situation. If they're buying a house, they want to know we want the clients to know what they're getting, right? And have
Well, that was the thing. I remember calling other agents on properties and saying, hey, we'd like to offer and would like to do a home inspection. And the other agent would laugh. The other agent was laughing because it's like, yeah, this house is going to be sold before you have time to even think about a home inspection. And why would the seller entertain doing a home inspection if they don't need to sell the property? So that's always an interesting thing. It made me very uncomfortable, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it was a case of, do you do a home inspection understanding that by the time you schedule the home inspection, the house may already be sold or not? And it was really kind of an awkward situation.
It's crazy. And Gary, I saw the same thing on my side. I saw buyers waiving mortgage contingencies, and I would explain them and say, look, this may have nothing to do with you specifically as far as your desire, but what if you happen to lose your job? What if there's a layoff and you no longer qualify? Do you understand that you're in a position where you're forfeiting 5% of the purchase price of that home that you've put on purchase and sale? Does that make sense to you that you want to put those funds in jeopardy? Because there's always going to be another house down the road that you can buy, but not if you give up your deposit money.
Right.
And people were like, well, let's roll the dice, and which is, I said, well, and I insisted when they would do that, I said, listen, before you make a decision, you have to talk to an attorney. You have to make sure you understand the rights that you're waiving. Sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't. I don't know, but it's crazy.
Right. Well, I don't see that happening as much now. I am still seeing multiple offers, but it's 2 offers and not 20. Okay. People are still doing open houses. There's still some good traction at open houses, but we're not seeing people have to call the police to do crowd control, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, I think that is a good thing. And now, are you seeing, with the offers that you're seeing, multiple offers, are you still seeing a situation where home inspections are prior to offer being made, that they're looking at that, or now it's fairly accepted that you agree on price and then the buyer will be able to execute a
Generally speaking, I'm seeing a return to normalcy, which is you get the offer accepted, you do the home inspection, then you do the P&S.
Right.
Yeah, generally speaking, that's what we're seeing. We're in some cases, we're still doing the home inspection after the PNS. You can have a long discussion about whether or not you can get out of the contract at that point, et cetera. We're seeing some of that, but it's becoming more the old or the former norm than the superheated norm that we had.
Yeah, I think that's I'm glad to hear that. I mean, one of the things that I you saw your article in the Community Advocate, and I thought it was interesting. And the analogy you used a lot was like, going to a gym, yeah, you can pay your membership, but bottom line is you got to start, you got to do it. And I think that in this market, I think one of the things that people really have to do is take those next steps and get pre-approved and start looking at properties. The sooner the better. And not wait for the market and the media to go, oh, now is that signal, now is that time to buy, because
Right.
the media has a habit of always managing to point out the gloom and doom in any market whatsoever and scaring people. And the reality is, I think there's opportunity here, that people want to start. They want to have time on their side. They want to be able to find that house. And so taking action, as you'd indicated in the article, is important. Start somewhere.
That's true. And who's the best trainer in the world? It's either you or me when it comes to buying a house.
That's right.
You're not gonna see me over at Boston Sports Club. Anyway, Brad, thank you. If someone wants to reach you, how do they do that?
Best way to reach me, Gary, is via my cell, which is 978-375-5531, or via my email, which is Brad@Avergon. That's BRADAVERGON.com. And Gary,
It's only
how do
been
they
your
reach
name
you?
how long, Brad? Brad, you are not having a good day.
I just keep putting my foot in my mouth.
For the record, we're recording this at 2:35 in the afternoon, so I hope the heck that you're not into the hot toddies already.
This could either be water or vodka. I'm not telling.
Yeah, exactly. All right, I'm Gary Kelly. I can be reached at Gary@movewithgary.com and 508-733-6005. Thanks, Brad.
Thanks, Gary.
Once again, thank you for watching All Things Real Estate. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Brad or Gary.